Tropfest, the world's largest short film festival, shone a spotlight on a controversial AI-generated film during a star-studded evening in Sydney, sparking fresh debate about the future of filmmaking and the growing role of AI in the creative industries. For more, let's bring in Darren Woolley from Trinity P3. Great to see you again, my friend. Talk to us about this AI-generated short film sparking a lot of controversy. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Aaron, it's great to see Tropfest back and promoting filmmaking. It's just a pity it took the wrong step with the very first time out again, with an AI film coming in and largely getting quite a negative reaction from the very audience they're trying to appeal to, which is filmmakers.
Well, filmmakers, the last thing they're going to want to see is any spotlight on AI at the moment. I mean, it is such a sensitive topic, right?
Well, and the rules for Tropfest say that you can use AI, but not to author it and only use it as a creative tool. So how far do we take those rules? You know, does that mean that the whole thing can be AI? And because that is just a tool. And we're living in a world now with, you know, in China, they've released a AI version that creates motion picture quality that's ripping off all of the major studio characters, you know, and it's almost seamless. So we're really struggling now to be able to separate the two.
Yeah, I mean, look, Disney did get in touch with that Chinese firm and they're very much backtracked very quickly, but Disney itself has announced that it is licensing its characters to AI to be able to be used in AI-generated content. We've seen just this week in Nine's earnings that they've announced that they're working with the AI companies as well. Do you think that the sensitivities of filmmakers perhaps just has to catch up?
I think so. You know, it's become a way of producing films. There's not just the filmmakers, actors themselves. You know, they're starting to be able to replicate performances by well-known actors. And at the moment, copyright, performance rights exist for actors, but actual copyright doesn't. You know, at least the producer has the rights to the film and can then, as Disney does, and then be able to license that or on-sell it to others. But actors need to also protect their performances. Imagine if, you know, as an actor with cachet and celebrity, you're being made through AI to say things that you're either not comfortable with or not being compensated for. So there's a whole lot of issues, which we've seen time and time again with AI. You know, we talked about it not long ago with Google making the AI summaries by basically stealing or using other people's copyrighted content. The same thing's happening here with films. And I think that's the issue. You know, if it's clearly labeled AI and all of the source material is suitably compensated for being in it, then I think there shouldn't be a problem. But certainly filmmakers will be very sensitive to this.
Independence Day was my favourite film as a teenager of the 90s because it was made with models, it was made with, you know, basically the height of all those years of people building things and doing things in real life for special effects. Then along came CGI and it got better and better. Is AI not just the next gen of CGI essentially and the same sort of movement that we saw there, or do you think it's something bigger, something broader?
Look, and I think what you're talking about there is the use of it as a creative tool, which Tropfest clearly supports. I think where the boundary gets blurred is when you start using someone else's intellectual property to create something new that you profit from. And that's the thing. You know, I think AI is, as you say, the next generation. I'm sure George Lucas, who made Star Wars with models in the studio in England, then came along with CGI and enhanced those as it improved.
Well, yes, but you just make a good point there, because episodes 1, 2 and 3, which came out, you know, first one was in the late 90s with Jar Jar Binks and the dreadful promotion, there was a massive backlash. And I guess my question is with AI, and as an industry we try and judge things or put rules in, but won't audiences just decide? Won't audiences say this looks like AI, dribble, I ain't watching this?
Absolutely agree. Ultimately, we're producing content that audiences want to consume and are willing to pay for. You know, this is a commercial enterprise. And so, you know, we should be encouraging this, but it's still in the hands of the person that owns the intellectual property. They get to make the decision. George Lucas is the producer. If he wants to remake all of Star Wars using AI, then that's up to him, but he'll have some real issues with the contract with Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill and the like to be able to reuse their images.
And also the fact that now he doesn't own it, so I think Disney will give him a call as well. So Tropfest or gone Troppo-fest over this one?
I think everyone's gone Troppo over something that they're going to have to learn to live with.
All right, love to see it. All right, now let's talk about, for more than a decade, some of America's biggest advertisers poured billions into digital marketing, yet new long-term data suggests that simply spending more, especially in programmatic, our favourite word, hasn't delivered the revenue growth many expected. Well, blow me over with a feather. Are you shocked by this one?
Look, this is great news for our friends in broadcast television that are building and been saying that television's the way to build brands. What it's done, and I'm surprised this hasn't got wider coverage in the business media at least, which is they looked at CAGR, so growth over a 15-year period. Why 15 years? Because that's really when digital took off. And they compared the spend on digital as a way of getting sort of what's called bottom of the funnel, directly attributable sales, to those that were spending more on, they called it TV, but they meant all broadcast as well. And what they found was, of the top 60 advertisers in the US, half of them grew less than inflation. So in many cases, they had negative. The top 30 grew around less than 7%, I think it was. And so what we're seeing here is a realization that just putting your money into digital is not necessarily the way to growth. While it may give you direct attribution, supposedly, there's a lot of wastage in it, and it's not actually building your business for the long term. And I think that's going to cause a real rethink by many of the major advertisers, but also should create a rethink about how we use digital for all advertisers. If you're putting money more and more into digital, what they call performance media, then you need to start seeing the performance. And I'm not talking impressions or clicks. I'm actually talking dollars in the bank, because that's what counts.
Yeah, there's been a lot of cynicism about the growth of digital media, obviously, and whether it's real, whether the numbers are real. Why don't you see, I guess, that massive shift towards programmatic and digital automatically translate into higher revenues, given that one of the benefits of digital is that the people can click on things, they can head to your website, they can find out more, whereas television, you watch it, you got to actively go find out more. What do you think?
Yeah, so first of all, the thing about building brands through things like television and other broadcast media is that it actually puts your brand in a position in the consumer's mind, so that when they come to make the decision, they'll be more inclined to go with what they know than try something new. Whereas most of the digital spend is trying to convert people when they're already in the market. When you're going online and you're searching for something, how many times have you then gone to another website and they start popping up ads for what you've just looked at? Even worse is the wastage, because you may have even bought it and they still keep serving up ads. All of those ads are wasted. They're saying it's targeted, but it's really not that targeted. And the real problem they're struggling with is getting data that's actually meaningful so that they can...
Do you think, sorry to interrupt, do you think that the big platforms know this, given the fact that we are seeing Meta? I just saw footage there of Mark Zuckerberg. He looks to be trying to get out of advertising as quickly as he can, anything to get out of advertising, yet they're still stuck there. So do you think the platforms are aware?
Look, the platforms are incentivized for marketers to keep spending more and more money with them. Of course, that's how they make their money. I think it's around 90% on average goes to of the revenue for Google, Meta, ByteDance, Amazon is all going through advertising. So they need to keep people spending with them. How do you do that? By making them believe that it's effective. But this is showing that it may be effective on the metrics that they're willing to give you, but is it effective in real growth? And this is a big issue. You know, we need to see and have this conversation. This research by Augustine Fu at Fu Analytics out of the US is really worthwhile for all marketers and businesses. CFOs need to be looking at this and wondering, why are we spending more and more money on digital? Because the other thing is, within categories, he's compared the spend by a brand which has stayed primarily with broadcast and their growth compared to those that have gone all in on digital. And the truth is that, you know, if you continue to use broadcast and build brand as well as digital, you're going to get better results than just digital.
It's a fascinating one. You got to work it all together, as we say, if you can. Appreciate your time as always, Darren Woolley, the great man. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Ahron.